Hey guys, so I thought it was really interesting in one of the articles I was reading or videos I watched. It talked about how we teach kids about the water cycle and how most kids could recite that, but they don't really know what happens to the water. So, to get started with my process and my struggles, my first issue was material collection. I went to 5 different places for mesh, ended up at Lowe's, and still didn't have the right thing. So, what I did was I just used a mesh bag, and that was my mesh. Cup collection, too. I clearly wasn't really forward thinking in this. I first got red cups, and then I realized that I would want to see through them like they kind of did in the pictures and the videos. So I went back. I got different plastic cups, but they were too thick. So when I put in my push pin, they would crack down the side. So I went back a third time and I have the cups pictured here. So the next thing that was a little rough was not being able to follow steps. I feel like that's how I learned science. That's how my brain works. So this was a little bit tough for me. Um, Also figuring out kind of the order to put the materials, but also knowing what the use for each material was. So I was on Google researching charcoal, researching alum because I had no clue what alum was. And then figuring out how to kind of stack these and assemble them. You can see it kind of looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa here. I actually put the last cup on after this picture and it fell over. Um, so I had to restart and figure out how to combine some of my materials to keep that stack a little bit lower. So my favorite part of this whole experiment was the alum. I just thought it was kind of fascinating how it changed the water. And then the picture on the bottom, it's so gross, but that was like at the bottom of it once I poured all the water out. It's pretty cool. So here's just a list of my materials and some pictures. Didn't use the ruler and I didn't use the brown paper bag. I'm assuming the brown paper bag was just to keep things clean. And then my attempts and outcomes. So on the left-hand side, I have attempt number 1. For this attempt from top to bottom, I had the alum first, a coffee filter, cheesecloth, screen and mesh, sand, gravel, and charcoal. I combined my sand and gravel in this one, and I did my charcoal on the bottom, and this was my outcome. You can see the water's pretty clear, but there are some pieces of charcoal, I guess, that came through. So for my second attempt from top to bottom, I did alum again first, and then I did the coffee filter, mesh, did charcoal in the middle there, and then actually combined my gravel followed by the I'm sorry, my charcoal followed by the gravel and then the sand all in the same cup. And then I did the cheesecloth on the bottom for that one. The water came out a little bit darker in this one. So I think my first attempt was actually better. But where this activity falls on the inquiry curriculum or continuum, I think that it's mostly learner self-directed. The only thing is that the tasks and or the task and the materials were given to us by Dr. Dietrich. But other than that, I thought it was mostly learner self-directed. And it kind of related for me back to the inquiry trajectories that we learned about. And I thought that trajectory 3 is where I would want to be with teaching my students because from my own experience, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the whole thing. So I think that I would need it broken down and I would need that kind of like soft start into inquiry based learning. Overall, it was a little bit frustrating. It was eye opening. It gave me a good perspective into the students' shoes and what they would probably feel like. But I also think it was beneficial for me because I didn't learn science this way. So taking part in it really helped me to see kind of like what my students would experience and what process I would go through as the teacher as well for inquiry based instruction.